97.35% of all cishet males who are in relationship with women have 7 masks that they all hide their true swamp creature troll-like scrub personalities behind. The longer that
I saw this creator analyzing the 7 marks that this man will unveil if they're in a relationship with you. They'll start from the first to they get to the 7th. So it's stage by stage, right? So the thing is that they pretend to be who they are not and try to trick you from the first 3 to 6 months. For the first 3 months, you see the first marks. From 6 months, you see another marks, or a year. 2 years, you see another marks, like that. She really explained it and it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I just want to share this video with you all today. Let me know the clip for you all to watch, and I'll share my thoughts at the end of the video.
And I feel like people will get on me for being in this position. Like, how could you put yourself in that position? How could you put yourself in your childhood position? Because he seemed normal before I got pregnant. He seemed normal before we got home from the hospital, and he called me a bitch after I just gave birth to his child. He seemed normal before we got home from the hospital after having his child, and he was telling me to get him beers while I was bleeding and stitching up together.
what that lady is experiencing is the 7 masks phenomenon. 97.35% of all cishet males who are in relationship with women have 7 masks that they all hide their true swamp creature troll-like scrub personalities behind. The longer that you stay in relationship with them, the more masks you see fall. And if you let one mask fall and you stick around, you've given him the okay to let the rest fall. Mask number 1 is the 3-month mask. You ever notice how so many new relationships never make it past the 3-month mark? There's a reason for that. That's when the first mask falls for cishet males. They can only keep up that perfect persona that they're literally tricking you with for 3 months. After 3 months, the first mask drops. Suddenly, that attentive dude who's been texting you every morning and you've been talking and hanging out and having incredible moments, suddenly this motherfucker don't pick up his phone no more. Suddenly, this motherfucker don't text back for days. Suddenly, this fool is acting cold and distant when you're hanging out. 3-month mask. Then you have the 6-month and the 1-year mask. That's when you're gonna see even more of the ugly truth, aka the red flags that down the line when you actually do end things, you say, damn, I should have paid attention to those. And the cycle repeats. You didn't drop him after he dropped his 6-month mask, he gonna drop the 1-year mask on your ass. If you put up with his changing for the worse behavior for a whole year, now he gonna show you a little bit more of who he is. He's not gonna show you too much, right? Because he's still trying to keep you in the web. He's still trying to keep you trapped. And then comes the 4th mask, the engagement mask. I'm gonna have to do a part 2.
And I feel like people will get on me for being in this position. Like, how could you put yourself in that position? How could you put yourself in your childhood position? Because he seemed normal before I got pregnant. He seemed normal before we got home from the hospital, and he called me a bitch after I just gave birth to his child. He seemed normal before we got home from the hospital after having his child, and he was telling me to get him beers while I was bleeding and stitching up together.
What that lady is experiencing is the 7 masks phenomenon. 97.35% of all cishet males who are in relationship with women have 7 masks that they all hide their true swamp creature troll-like scrub personalities behind. The longer that you stay in relationship with them, the more masks you see fall. And if you let one mask fall and you stick around, you've given him the okay to let the rest fall. And then comes the 4th mask, the engagement mask. You done been with this motherfucker for who knows how long, accepting bullshit after bullshit after bullshit. And you still stuck it out. He put a tag on you so everybody knows you're his property. And now he really thinks in his head that he gotcha. And that's when the next mask falls. This fool was all gung-ho about getting married, and now suddenly he seems so disinterested in wedding planning and even talking about the wedding. He's going cold and hot again, among other things. Then comes the biggest mask of them all at this point in the relationship. And that is, you guessed it, the marriage mask. Once that fool puts a ring on it, Once y'all sign them legal documents, y'all done intertwined your finances together. Maybe, I don't know, you left your lucrative ass, successful ass career so you could be a stay-at-home mom, take care of the house, take care of your husband, support his career, maybe support his business working for free. Now, in his mind, he got ya. And this is when you start to see that true blue. After y'all get married, even for some women, it's literally the wedding night that this motherfucker rips that mask off and shows you who he really fucking is. And then comes the final boss of masks, and that's the pregnancy mask. That's the baby mama mask. We know, statistically speaking, that pregnancy is the most dangerous time for women in terms of domestic violence from their partners. We know that the leading cause of death in pregnant women and postpartum women is homicide. Not birthing complications, not preeclampsia, not all the other issues, but homicide? Why? Because once you have his baby, once you get pregnant, in his patriarchal mind, you're trapped forever. And if you're trapped forever and you can't go anywhere, then he doesn't have to keep playing these foolish games anymore, and he can show you who the fuck he really is. And the seventh mask is the final boss of the mask. I'm gonna have to do part 3.
I feel like people will get on me for being in this position. Like, how could you put yourself in that position? How could you put yourself and your child in that position? Because he seemed normal before I got pregnant. He seemed normal before we got home from the hospital, and he called me a bitch after I just gave birth to his child. He seemed normal before we got home from the hospital after having his child, and he was telling me to get him beers while I was bleeding and stitching up together.
What that lady is experiencing is the 7 masks phenomenon. 97.35% of all cishet males who are in relationship with women have 7 masks that they all hide their true swamp creature troll-like scrub personalities behind. The longer that you stay in relationship with them, the more masks you see fall. And if you let one mask fall and you stick around, you've given him the okay to let the rest fall. And the 7th mask is the final boss of the masks. Now, this one everybody may not experience, but if you do, this is the mask that will reveal the utter truth of that male. And that is the sickness mask. Yeah. If you get sick, you gonna see who your partner really is. We know that it is typical for men to leave their wives when they get sick, because let's remember, males got married so that they would be taken care of, not so they would be taking care of people. That's not, sickness and health wasn't for them, it was for women. And honestly, some women are better off having their men leave, because if you get incapacitated, honey, and ain't nobody around but you and that man who's taking care of you, ooh. We need to be talking about the 7 masks. We need to be sharing intel amongst each other, ladies. We need to be telling our daughters and our nieces about the 7 masks, so they are not befuddled when the man that they're dating suddenly just starts acting completely different. Because our natural human instinct is to try to rationalize. Well, there must be a reason for this, because that's not the person that he portrayed himself to be when we first started dating. You start to think that every time a mask drops, that new behavior is the fluke, when the fluke was the original behavior that he was putting on for you. How he behaves in that first 3 months, that first 6 months, that first year, that's the fluke. And if women understood this, instead of rationalizing every single time one of these new masks dropped, we would protect ourselves and get the hell out of there.
This makes a lot of sense, because if you notice, in the very first 1 or 2 months when you meet a guy and you guys are clicking, you just be like, oh my god, it's God sent. That is the love bombing stage. The love bomb, you always want to think about the person, you always want to be with him, you guys always want to be together. It gives you gifts, buys you flowers. everything that you want. In fact, most ladies will start imagining themselves in their wedding gown, how they're going to marry him or how they're going to have kids in the first 3 months. Before you know, it starts, telling you, oh, I'm busy. This is coming from somebody that did not change his job. It's that same job he had when he met you 3 months ago. All of a sudden, he's busy. All of a sudden, oh, I sleep, or I slept off, or I forgot to text you good morning. There's always good. It's not going to be like, I don't really like sending messages, or I don't really like taking pictures when I go out, or I don't really like. Then the dates will reduce. A lot of things are going to reduce, and that is when you be like, what is going on? Like, is it that overstepping? And that period, that first 3 months, that is when a woman is starting her own emotional connection. That is when she's like, oh, I think I like this guy. I think I'm going to give him a chance. That is when a woman is starting. The men know that, oh, I've love bombed her. I've made her realize that she needs me. So when they say that, okay, you're all over them now, they withdraw back. I feel like that is when the first marks go off. Later on, I feel like the most painful marks is the marriage marks, right? The ones that just want to marry you and review that marks. You see, that one is crazy. And another one is the pregnancy marks. You will not know your partner. And I just feel like that is just a certain. I feel like I've been saying that before. I didn't know that's the thing. You will not know your partner unless you have a child. You will not fully know your partner unless you have a child for him. If he's a good husband, he might not be a good father. He can be a good father and be a terrible husband. There's different things, okay? So you will not even know how your partner is going to be good with kids until you have a child with him. You might see the way he's nice to other children, might not be as nice to your own child, or might not even be supportive when it comes to your own child or both of your children, if that makes sense. Anyways, this is just to say that these men reveal who they are gradually. So it is wise for you not to jump into a relationship, a committed relationship, after 1 month of meeting a man. Oh, after 1 month, I just know he's gonna marry me, or he popped the question. We met just a month ago, we met just 3 months ago, and we're getting married. A man knows what he wants and he will stick to it. When he start reviewing his marks, when he start revealing his real like when he starts showing you his real self, you will hate yourself for even meeting him in the first place. Rushing this, just to tell you that rushing into a committed relationship, rushing into things that you don't want to do, rushing into having kids, rushing into marriage because you just met somebody and because you feel like, oh, they are everything to you at that point. They might not be. Another thing is that a woman beater will not beat you on the very first date. It will not beat you when guys are dating. It will not beat you the very first 2, 3 months. It will not beat you in the first 6 months. It might not even beat you before you get married to him. It will hold his anger, hold that his beating skills until he marries you. It might beat you on your wedding night. That is when he will beat you. That's when you know that what? And they tell you, and you know how women beat does when they slap you or beat you or something, they just start crying and tell you, my God, I'm sorry, I didn't know I did that. Oh, it was because you did this, it was because you did that, you got me angry, it was because the way you looked at me. The gaslight you and apologize, cry, and you'd be like, it's so lovely. Then the next day they buy you gift, they buy you everything you want, they give you attention, they tell you they promise whole word so that you will forget that you were beaten last night. Okay, so when they beat you the very first time, you accept it, forget it. That is the end. You're gonna be punching bag for the rest of your marriage, like years. Anyways, I feel like because of these men can pretend, they pretend with their heart. If they are a narcissist, they will pretend and act like they are not. They pretend as if they love you. They pretend as if you're the one and only. A cheater will also pretend till you get to a stage whereby they unveil their marks. I feel like sometimes when they show their marks, sometimes they test you. Sometimes these men will test you and kind of give you a sneak peek of removing the marks. Like, when you want to remove the marks, just a sneak peek. They show you a little and they see if you can tolerate it. If you can, they remove it completely, and that is it. You move on. And one thing about it is that you should always remember that you should leave at the very first red flag. If you start seeing some signs that doesn't make sense and you cannot tolerate it, you're non-negotiable. Just leave and find another partner that will make sense. If that makes sense. Anyways, what is your take on this conversation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. What other marks do you think these men have that wasn't mentioned in part of the 7 marks? And I feel like the one that is the most painful part is the one that will betray you most is when you are sick, right? And the person that you think that was supposed to be there for you leaves you and go with another person, or doesn't even care about your health. Is it that sickness part? It shows a lot of men true color. It shows a lot of women who they are really married to. It shows a lot of women who they really have kids with when they are really sick. You know, I feel like if you want to really know who is there for you, who really loves you, be sick and can't do anything, then you see who's going to show you, who's going to be there from the beginning to the end, not just from the beginning and stop, from the beginning to the end. If your partner is not there for you while you're sick, he has unveiled that max. Anyways, can you share your thoughts about this conversation in the comment section respectfully? And thank you all so much for tuning in. Another interesting video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like and share and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.